Hi there, and welcome back to The Wicked, the full story. We are starting today with the reading of The Wizard of Oz, and we're going to finish up with the melting of the Wicked Witch. Chapter 10 The Search for the Wicked Witch. The soldiers with the green whiskers led them through the streets of the Emerald City until they reached the room where the guardian of the gates lived. This officer unlocked their spectacles to put them back in his great box, and then he politely opened the gate for our friends. "Which road leads to the Wicked Witch of the West?" asked Dorothy. "There is no road," answered the guardian of the gates. "No one ever wishes to go that way." "How then are we to find her?" inquired the girl. "That will be easy," replied the man, "for when she knows you are in the company of the great Winkies, she will find you and make you all her slaves." "Perhaps not," said the Scarecrow, "for we mean to destroy her." "Oh, that is different," said the guardian of the gates. "No one has ever destroyed her before, so I naturally thought she would make slaves of you, as she has of the rest. But take care, for she is wicked and fierce, and may not allow you to destroy her. Keep to the west, where the sun sets, and you cannot fail to find her." They thanked him and bade him goodbye, and turned towards the west, walking over fields of soft grass, dotted here and there with daisies and buttercups. Dorothy still wore the pretty silk dress she had put on in the palace, but now, to her surprise, she found it was no longer green, but pure white. The ribbon around Toto's neck had also lost its green color, and was as white as Dorothy's dress. The Emerald City was soon far left behind. As they advanced, the ground became rougher and hillier, for there were no farms nor houses in this country of the West, and the ground was untilled. In the afternoon, the sun shone hot in their faces, for there were no trees to offer them shade. So before night, Dorothy and Toto and the lion were tired, and lay down upon the grass and fell asleep. With the Tin Woodman and the Scarecrow keeping watch. Now the Wicked Witch of the West had but one eye, yet that was as powerful as a telescope, and could see everywhere. So she sat down in the door of her castle. She happened to look around and saw Dorothy lying asleep, with her friends all about her. They were a long distance off, but the Wicked Witch was angry to find them in her country. There was in her cupboard a golden cap, with a circle of diamonds and rubies running around it. This golden cap had a charm. Whoever owned it could call 3 times upon the winged monkeys, who would obey any order they were given. But no person could command these strange creatures more than 3 times. Twice already the Wicked Witch had used the charm of the cap. Once was when she had made the Winkies her slaves, and set herself to rule over their country. The winged monkeys had helped her do this. The second time was when she had fought against the great Oz himself, and driven him out of her land of the West. The winged monkeys had also helped her in doing this. Only once more could she use this golden cap, took it from her cupboard, and placed it upon her head. Then she stood upon her left foot and said slowly, "Yeepee, peepee, kaki." Next she stood upon her right foot and said, "Hilo, holo, hello." After this she stood upon both feet and circled and cried in a loud voice, "Zizzy, zuzzy, zeek." Now the charm began to work. The sky was darkened, and a low rumbling sound was heard in the air. There was a rushing of many wings, a great chattering and laughing, and the sun came out of the dark sky to show the Wicked Witch surrounded by a crowd of monkeys, each with a pair of immense and powerful wings on his shoulders. One, much bigger than the other, seemed to be their leader. He flew close to the witch and said, "You've called us for the 3rd and last time. What do you command?" "Go to the strangers who are within my land and destroy them all, except the lion," said the Wicked Witch. "Bring that beast to me, for I have a mind to harness him like a horse and make him work." "Your command shall be obeyed," said the leader. Then, with a great deal of chattering and noise, the winged monkeys flew away to the place where Dorothy and her friends were walking. Some of the monkeys seized the Tin Woodman and carried him through the air until they were over a country thickly covered with sharp rocks. Here they dropped the poor woodman, who fell a great distance. To the rocks. He lay there, so battered and dented that he could neither move nor groan. Others of the monkeys caught the Scarecrow, and with their long fingers pulled all the straw out of his clothes and head. They made his hat and boots and clothes into a small bundle and threw it into the top branches of a tall tree. The remaining monkeys threw pieces of stout rope around the lion and wound many coils about his body and head and legs until he was unable to bite or scratch or struggle in any way. Then they lifted him up and flew away with him to the witch's castle, where he was placed in a small yard with a high iron fence around it, so that he could not escape. But Dorothy they did not harm at all. She stood with Toto in her arms, watching the sad fate of her comrades, and thinking it would soon be her turn. The leader of the winged monkeys flew up to her, his long, hairy arms stretched out, and his ugly face grinning terribly. And there's our friends, the winged monkeys. But he saw the mark of the good witch's kiss upon her forehead, and stopped short, motioning the others not to touch her. "We dare not harm this little girl," he said to them, "for she is protected by the power of good, and that is greater than the power of evil. All we can do is carry her to the castle of the wicked witch and leave her there." So carefully and gently they lifted Dorothy in their arms and carried her swiftly through the air until they came to the castle, where they set her down upon the front doorstep. Then the leader said to the witch, "We have obeyed you as far as we are able. The Tin Woodman and the Scarecrow are destroyed. The lion is tied up in your yard. The little girl we dare not harm, nor the dog she carries in her arms. Your power over our brand is now ended, and you will never see us again." Then all the winged monkeys, with much laughing and chattering and noise, flew into the air and were soon out of sight. The wicked witch was both surprised and worried when she saw the mark on Dorothy's forehead. She knew well that neither the winged monkeys nor herself dare hurt the girl in any way. She looked down at Dorothy's feet, and seeing the silver shoes, began to tremble with fear, for she knew what a powerful charm belonged to them. At first the witch was tempted to run away from Dorothy, but she happened to look into the child's eyes and saw how simple the soul behind them was, that the little girl did not know of the wonderful power and the silver shoes gave her. So the wicked witch laughed to herself and thought, "I can still make her my slave, for she does not know how to use her power." Then she said to Dorothy, hoarsely and severely, "Come with me and see that you mind everything I tell you. For if you do not, I will make an end of you, as I did of the Tin Woodman and the Scarecrow. Ha!" Dorothy followed her through many of the beautiful rooms in her castle, until they came to the kitchen. There the witch commanded her to clean the pots and kettles and sweep the floor, keep the fire fed with wood. And there's the witch. Dorothy went to work meekly, with her mind made up to work as hard as she could, for she was glad the wicked witch had decided not to kill her. With Dorothy hard at work, the witch thought she would go into the courtyard and harness the cowardly lion like a horse. Would amuse her. She was sure to make him draw her chariot whenever she wished. But as she opened the gate, the lion gave a loud roar and bounded at her so fiercely that the witch was afraid. She ran out and shut the gate again. "If I cannot harness you," said the witch to the lion through the bars of the gate, "I can starve you. You shall have nothing to eat until you do as I wish." So after that she took no food to the imprisoned lion. But every day she came to the gate at noon and asked, "Are you ready to be harnessed like a horse?" And the lion answered, "No. You come in this yard, I will bite you." The reason the lion did not have to do this, as the witch wished, was that every night, while the woman was asleep, Dorothy carried him food from the cupboard. After he had eaten, he would lie down on his bed of straw, and Dorothy would lie beside him and put her head on his soft, shaggy mane, while they talked of their troubles and tried to plan a way out to escape. They could find no way to get out of the castle, for it was constantly guarded by the yellow Winkies, who were not now the slaves of the wicked witch, and too afraid of her not to do as she told them. The girl had to work hard during the day, and often the witch threatened to beat her with the same old umbrella she always carried in her hand. But in truth, she did not dare to strike Dorothy, because of the mark upon her forehead. The child did not know this, and was full of fear for herself and Toto. Once the witch struck Toto a blow with her umbrella, and the brave little dog flew at her and bit her leg in return. The witch did not bleed where she was bitten, for she was so wicked that the blood in her had dried up many years before. Dorothy's life became very sad as she grew to understand that it would be harder than ever to get back to Kansas and Auntie Em again. Sometimes she would cry bitterly for hours, with Toto sitting at her feet and looking into her face, whining dismally to show how sorry he was for his little mistress. Toto did not really care whether he was in Kansas or the Land of Oz, so long as Dorothy was with him. But he knew the little girl was unhappy, and that made him unhappy too. Now the wicked witch had a great longing to have for her own the silver shoes which the girl always wore. She had used up all the power of the golden cap, and if she could only get a hold of the silver shoes, they would give her more power than what she had lost. She watched Dorothy carefully to see if she ever took off the shoes, thinking she might steal them. But the child was so proud of her pretty shoes, she never took them off except at night and when she took her bath. The witch was too much afraid of the dark to dare go in Dorothy's room at night to take the shoes, and her dread of water was greater than her fear of the dark, so she never came near Dorothy when Dorothy was bathing. Indeed, the old witch never touched water, nor ever let water touch her in any way. But the wicked creature was very cunning, and she finally thought of a trick that would give her what she wanted. She placed a bar of iron in the middle of the kitchen floor. Then, by her magic art, she made the iron invisible to human eyes. So when Dorothy walked across the floor, she stumbled over the bar, not being able to see her where she was going, and fell at full length. She was not much hurt, but in her fall one of the silver shoes came off. Before she could reach it, the witch had snatched it away and put it on her own skinny foot. The great witch was greatly pleased with the success of her trick. As long as she had one of the shoes, she owned half of the power of their charm, and Dorothy could not use it against her, even had she known how to do so. The little girl, seeing she had lost one of her pretty shoes, grew angry and said to the witch, "Give me back my shoe." "I will not," retorted the witch, "for now it is my shoe and not yours." "You are a wicked creature," cried Dorothy. "You have no right to take my shoe from me." "I shall keep it just the same," said the witch, laughing at her. "Some day I shall get the other one from you too." This made Dorothy so angry that she picked up the bucket of water that stood near and dashed it over the witch, wetting her from head to toe. Instantly the wicked woman gave a loud cry of fear, and then, as Dorothy looked at her in wonder, the witch began to shrink and fall away. "See what you have done!" she screamed. "In a minute I shall melt away." "I'm very sorry indeed," said Dorothy, who was truly frightened to see the witch actually melting away like brown sugar before her very eyes. "Didn't you know water would be the end of me?" asked the witch in a wailing, despairing voice. "Of course not," answered Dorothy. "How could I?" "Well, in a few minutes I shall be all melted, and you will have the castle to yourself. I have been wicked in my days, but I never thought a little girl like you would ever be able to melt me and end my wicked deed. Look out! Here I go!" With these words, the witch fell down in a brown, melted, shapeless mass and began to spread over the clean boards of the kitchen floor. Seeing that she had really melted away to nothing, Dorothy drew another bucket of water and threw it over the mess. She then swept it all out the door. After picking up the silver shoe, which was all that was left of the old woman, she cleaned and dried it with a cloth and put it on her foot again. Then, being at last free to do as she chose, she ran out of the country courtyard to tell the lion that the wicked witch of the west had come to an end, and that they were no longer prisoners in a strange land. And of course, we know what happens next with the wizard and all those fun things that happen, but there's the picture of the witch melting away. A little bit different from the movie. The witch definitely doesn't look as if she did in the movie. So it's definitely a artist interpretation, which I really like about that. But this is a illustrated classic of The Wonderful Wizard of Oz. I hope you've enjoyed hearing it.